What's good? Welcome back to another edition of Dat Talk Podcast. I go by the name of Bacon. I got my co-host with me.
It's your boy, man. Mr. Too Many Reasons himself. Live and back from my family vacation.
Nice.
Feel me? So I'm feeling vibrant.
Where'd you go, man?
We was in Vegas, man. Took a little family trip to Vegas. My first time ever going with the kids to Vegas. Gotta say, different experience.
Oh, yeah. You can't do that at Vegas no more now. You a dad.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you know, like Vegas ain't fully like, it's open, but it's not open. So even if I had went with just like the wife, you feel me, it wouldn't have still been like Vegas just yet.
Yeah.
But man, I had a great time, man. You know, hanging out with my moms, my sister, my nieces, my little bro. So that was an experience, man. They went to Circus, got on all the rides there.
Nice.
We went to Top Golf, and I've realized golfing is difficult. Like I got to get in the lab. That one day at Top Golf, I'm ready to get in the lab now, because like I probably hit about 20 balls, probably about 20 of them things, balls.
Yeah.
And I was only really happy with two. Like, you feel me? I was only happy with two of them things. Like out of the 22 that I was like, cool. The rest, like my golf swing was all bad. Like it just was.
Golf will humble you real quick.
Yeah. And I appreciate the humbling. Like I appreciate it. You feel me? Because I'm a competitor. I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
And so now, like, because of that, like my golf fervor, like I want to go golf now. Like, because I need to get better at this. Like I don't like not being. Yeah, I gotta get. Yeah. So.
Hey man, you gotta get you some clubs first. I mean, that's where you start at. You gotta get you some starter clubs. And got to go out there to them par nines, Hank Swanks or Hank the Tank. No, Hank Swanks or something like that. And then you play a couple of those, and then you go to an actual course, man. It's a process, man. Golf is no joke. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't play golf in a while, it will hurt you. But you know who else had a humbling experience over the weekend? Our man, Hall of Famer, NBA champion.
2 Ps.
Paul Pierce got the 2-piece and the biscuit on the way to go. He got a to-go order. ESPN said, hey, we just gonna part ways. We ain't gonna tell everybody we fired you because of what you did on IG. You know what I'm saying? But let's just say my man Paul Pierce had an IG live gone wrong moment. I don't know what he was on. I don't know what he was doing.
Oh, no, he was on.
Oh, no. I know he was on. I know he was on. I said, I don't know what he was on. Okay. That's a difference. I know he was checked in. He was checked in, telling girls, give me a massage. He got twerking in the background. It was going down. And if you representing ESPN, the company that is bought by Disney, look, I ain't saying what you're doing is wrong, but you got to understand you're a representation of that company. And we know the politics in this world. And so if somebody else would have recorded you, and that's what they said, if somebody else would have recorded him, he would have been all right, because that was against his will. That was against his privacy. That's a different story. They would have probably had to talk to him like, hey, man, you got to be careful. You know, people out there, blah, blah, blah. But he was the mastermind of his own demise. He got on live. Yeah, talking crazy. Paul Pierce it was like, I don't want to work for ESPN no more. That's the kind of moment Paul Pierce had. How you feel about that, man?
So, you know, I'm on vacation. And I started looking at my Twitter, like Paul Pierce live going up. Like Paul Pierce. So by the time I go check, it's already off, right? So then, you know, the next day I start following up on it. And I'm like, oh, he was big lit.
Oh, he was big lit. He was big lit. Paul Pierce was on another level.
Hey, I'm like, yeah, man, listen, I agree with you. I just feel like he was trying to put in his resignation letter without saying it.
Yeah.
Because you know you can't work for ESPN, who's bought by Disney, and do that, man. Like, on top of that, you're a black man.
Oh, yeah.
You know your string is shorter and your leash is shorter than anything. They be looking for a reason to get rid of you. Look it.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's just he went full LA. Like, he went full young Paul Pierce back when he was at Inglewood High School. And he living it out in his 40s now, I guess. Like, I don't know what was.
I don't even know if you can call that young LA. I just think that's old money day Paul Pierce. Because I think a lot of folks, they miss their lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? They miss it. And you know what I'm saying? They want it. When you go from being a guy and then you just a regular guy, and if you're not really, you know, mentally there, like mentally, let's say, what's the word I'm thinking? If you're not mentally secure with who you are and where you are in your life, like sometimes you have those what the F moments. Like, bruh, I remember when I used to do this. I remember when I was that. Now everybody acting like I'm just some regular dude. I'm getting treated like Joe Smo or whatever. They forgot. They must have forgot.
Shout out to Roy Jones Jr. You know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So he must have forgot moment and got on it. Because again, you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it, bro. Like,
okay, you don't need to publicize it.
Yeah.
Him having fun is him having fun. You know, like, if you'd have just, you know, on Instagram, they got the stories, and, you know, to have a quick story up, boop, boop, and somebody catch it. Like, okay. But you was on live.
Facts.
So that means you was inviting the audience.
He was having full conversations on that thing.
Man.
Talking crazy. Not just like talking regular. He was talking crazy. And again,
I didn't even get to hear. See, I'm mad that I missed all that. Like, I really wanted, but I think it's, you know, it just come down to like kind of what you were saying. People been killing Paul Pierce now for the last few years on his basketball takes,
right?
Because his basketball takes be so far-fetched, and then they be so far-fetched that people didn't kind of put him into like the hater mode, because it always sound like he hating, and like his prime target of hating usually is LeBron for some odd reason. And it's like, bro, you feel me? Because it, you know, it goes back to what Draymond Green told him in his last days in the league. They don't love you like they love Kobe. And I feel like he ain't let that go.
I don't think they will ever, like, again, man. And Paul Pierce is a Hall of Famer. He's a gamer. He's a hooper. I'll take nothing away from him. Again, I'm not saying what he did was wrong. The way he went about it was the wrong way. You know, if you want to do your thing, you got every right to live your life and enjoy it. Whatever you want to indulge in, you can indulge in, but don't publicize it and put yourself out there. Unless you the owner or something, unless you the guy that own your business, you can do whatever you want to do. But until then, you know what I mean? Because there was a lot of debate saying, you know, ESPN shouldn't have fired him and they was wrong for firing him. There were some people saying that. And again, they were saying with other folks, they've been on here, they said crazy stuff, they did this, X, Y, and Z. But the thing is when you're not the boss, you are at the disposal of that company. That's just what it is, bro. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and act like, yo, no, that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. You work for them, so they got every right to let you go if they feel like that's against their policies and morals of the company. That's just what it is.
It's their image.
Right.
ESPN's image is ESPN's image. And like I said, people with these crazy hot takes and crazy opinions, that doesn't hurt their image. That drives ratings.
Right. That's all.
You on IG Live smoking with strippers in the background popping it. That's not the Disney image.
No.
That's just not. And so they have to do what's in the best interest of their company.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting rid of, you know, 2Ps is what they're doing. But, you know, like, I've read reports that an adult film company is offering Paul Pierce to do what he was doing while getting paid, because that's what they want him to do. So they want him to stream giving basketball takes while strippers are stripping in the background.
Hey, man, if that's what you want to do what you do, man. Hey, do what you do. I would never judge a man on how he move and how he want to maneuver, man. He is his own man. Shout out to you.
That's a hell of a bag.
If that's what you want to do, man. Hey, it's a different outlook. It's a different take. It's a different audience. You're getting the best of both worlds, hoops and women. That's crazy. It is a crazy idea, but hey, you know what I mean? I don't know his situation, so more power to him. But on to some more news that's going on. We got some more injury bugs in the league, and we got some moves in the league. We got James Harden, another pivotal piece in Brooklyn. More injuries in Brooklyn. He hurt his hamstring. But I don't know how long he's going to be out. We got him hurting his hamstring. We got Drummond with a toe contusion. He had probably one of the worst Lakers debuts in history in a while. Like, everybody was anticipating him to do some things, and he didn't even have a double-double. All that stuff we was talking about, Drummond this, Drummond that, he came in there and left real quick. The quicker he came, the faster he left, okay? And it shows me injuries is going to be a major key for both teams, the Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets, man. And then how you feel about some of the moves about Cousins going to the Lakers and Ben McLemore going to Cousins going to the Clippers on a 10-day and Ben McLemore going to the Lakers? All that news. How do you feel about it?
The Nets thing is interesting because we've talked about this. Soft tissue injuries is not nothing that just heals. I mean, when it first happened, when they was playing, I think it was Washington, whoever they was playing, he tweaked it. And then he sat out that game. And then Steve Nash was like, they don't think it's that serious. They will kind of, give him a couple of days off. And then he didn't play against the Bulls and they lost that game. Then he came back and kind of re-aggravated again. And you see KD's been out for we approaching damn near 2 months.
Yeah.
With his hamstring situation. And, like on a lesser level, Malik Beasley of the Timberwolves, he just got hit with a grade 3 hamstring thing. And so, to tie it all back in, like the hamstring is one of those injuries that it's so unpredictable. Like you can feel like you good.
Yeah.
And the minute you try to like really just, explode off that foot or that leg, it'd be like, hold up, champ.
Facts.
And so if I'm the Nets, I got to sit Harden down for like a week and some change. I have to, just because like it ain't gonna be too much movement between 1, 2, and 3. And if you fighting for a championship, health is the biggest thing.
Facts.
And so, and the whole Drummond situation, I felt like he would have been okay. But when Brook Lopez step on your toe and rip off your whole big toenail, I don't think you're going to perform right either.
How do you do that, though? Like, how does that even happen? Like, somebody step on your toe.
I just think it's one of those situations where you ain't went and got that pedicure yet. And because I've been there. And that's why now, because I play sports a lot, I try to get a pedicure once a month, maybe twice a month if I'm feeling real froggy. Yeah. And you got a 7-footer that steps, all he got to do is step the right way. And basically that's what happened. He doesn't have a toenail on his big toe. The whole toenail came off.
Does it grow back?
And it does grow back, but at its pace. And for 2 days, he couldn't even put a shoe on.
That hurt.
So, because the Lakers played Sunday, right? Yeah. So on Sunday was first reported that he was finally able to put on a shoe. And so, that's kind of how that went. And, it's one of those things where as it grows back, you just got to be pain tolerant, because we know how it is, man. Hitting you hit the pinky toe in the corner of the bed.
Ooh, that hurt. That pinky toe in the bed. Bro, I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. Like, don't get me wrong. Them long cuts hurt, but them little small cuts hurt a lot. They're like aggravating pains. Like it's like annoyance. You be like, oh God, dang. Especially like if you're shooting the ball and let's say your nail come off or something, and then you got the skin on the nail or whatever, and you shooting it, you like, ugh, and it hurt, bro. Them things hurt, bro. And it'd be so crazy, like those little things to really get a guy to be very, very emotional, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard to keep a tear coming from our eyes. You like, that hurt. That hurt. And we be breathing. But hey, man, shout out to them. Hopefully he comes back healthy. He should be all right. But what's really troublesome is health is going to be a big key for both of these teams because it's not regular people that's hurt. It's superstars on their teams that are hurt, that are really dealing. I think LeBron, everybody thought he was going to come back soon. What he's out been 2 weeks now?
It's been 2 weeks, so you got about another 2 weeks. But AD, they saying AD has not had a setback. They just still, taking a time, which I greatly appreciate.
Yeah, don't bring him back.
Yeah, I feel like you take your time. He's ramping up his workouts. He's yet to do 5-on-5. And so, I'm glad they taking their time with that. So, the Lakers signed Ben McLemore.
Yeah.
And he provides shooting. I'm curious to see who minutes he's gonna get. Or why you do all that?
Hey man, Ben McLemore is he's a shooting spurt. He shoots in spurts. He's just like any other Laker right now. They're not consistent. There's no consistent Laker that can shoot the ball consistently on that team. And that's why they struggle so much. They can go hot and cold in the blink of an eye. And that's the issue. And I think he really doesn't help them a lot. Even though he's another shooter, he's just like everybody else. He's going to have a good day and he's going to have some horrible days. And I think the Lakers really is missing a consistent shooter. And, look, they knock.
But those don't grow on trees.
I know they don't grow on trees, but you know who they knocking. They used to knock them, but the man used to knock them down. Okay. And my man, Danny Green, Danny Green, even though he had his days, he was at least consistent, bro. He was consistent, bro. You can depend on Danny Green. He's a championship caliber dude. You can depend on Danny Green.
I just felt like Danny Green 1 year with the Lakers was okay. I felt like he missed shots that I needed him to hit, both regular season and postseason.
But he's doing more than Matthew.
Relative.
He's doing
relative.
A little bit for Matthew.
Because you got to remember, man, the Lakers roster is not built like this. It's built around LeBron and everybody getting wide open shots because of LeBron and AD. And the craziest thing is like, so they put up a stat that the Lakers are like still top 5 in defense.
That's good.
Without LeBron and AD. Only problem is they bottom 2 in offense without LeBron and AD. So your defense only going to be as good as you score. And right now they are struggling to get consistent buckets. And so, that's going to be interesting. I think Cousins to the Clippers is interesting. I feel like that means that Ibaka injury is something that we need to really pay attention to with his whole back thing. Because now, they needed a big man. They got Zubac and Cousins probably coming off the bench to back up Zubac. And then they'll kind of figure him out within the rotation once Ibaka comes back. But Ibaka had missed like the last 10 games with this little back injury.
Yeah.
And the back is like the hamstring. It may feel good.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you do something,
you can aggravate it.
That thing can aggravate and flare up again. And so, man, at the end of the day, health is wealth.
Yes.
And the most healthiest team
will
is going to win the ship. And that's usually what it comes down to. And so I have the utmost confidence because, like I said on the last show, somebody has to beat LeBron in the playoffs for me not to feel like he can't win the ship or at least get there.
Right.
Ain't nobody did it. And so I'm going to hang my hat on that. And on top of that, this rest for LeBron and AD could be very well.
Yeah.
Like, this could be one of those situations, like, even though they hurt and they just not regularly resting, they rehabbing and all that. But rest is still rest.
Facts.
The minutes is still the minutes. And the Lakers turned around and played 72 days later after winning the ship. And so them having, AD basically having 2 months off, LeBron getting a month off.
Yeah.
That could be what's needed. I don't think it's as good for KD because he's been gone for so long. So he needed that rhythm of just basketball and hooping, and then they move in parts. The Lakers team is basically still a Lakers team. So when AD and LeBron come back, it should be a pretty smooth transition because Drummond basically is what JaVale and Dwight was. So don't really, cause too much. But the KD situation, because you the one that's been on it the most as far as the stars, them playing with 2 rather than 3. And when they was playing with 3, it really didn't work out. And now they added Aldridge and Blake, and like I'm curious with that.
I want to see how it plays out. And again, I don't wish no negative on nobody. I've never been that guy who be like, man, the Nets are still gonna lose. It's interesting to see this, and we could talk about this on another day. But what I've grasped from all of this, right? Because they say KD is the guy. They say KD is the dog. He's the best player in the NBA. That's all what I hear all the time about KD. And then they go to Kyrie, and then they go, James Harden is in the mix, but he's never in that guy, the best player in the NBA. And the big debate that I had, and we can save this for another day, is that, to be honest, when these guys was the number one guys on the team, I mean the number one guy, like the only number one guy, and they had their supporting cast, they struggled. They didn't get it done. When KD went to the Warriors, even though he became the number one guy, Steph Curry was still putting up numbers. You get what I'm saying? That's a walking 27 to 30 points a night. And then you got Klay Thompson, who's another walking 20 points a night. You get what I'm saying? So you played with Russ when you was a guy in OKC, when it was Russ, you, and Harden. When you was the guy, you didn't get it done. You didn't get it done. You was even up on a team that you went to 3-1, and you didn't get it done. You get what I'm saying? And then Kyrie said, I want my own team. He goes to a beautiful situation in Boston with 2 young studs, and he still couldn't get it done.
They went further without him.
Exactly. And then you got James Harden, who's had teams after teams after teams, and he still couldn't get it done. So when you come and talk to me about LeBron James and say he's a 2 guy too, you got to be out of your rabbit cheeks mind to say that this man who goes to a team and automatically makes a team championship contenders, the sweep that he lost to the Warriors, if KD goes on that team, they probably get to the playoffs and lose first or second round. Promise you that. He couldn't take that team to the chip. But that's what I'm saying. It's always about what LeBron ain't and what he can't do. They never really value and appreciate what he does. And it's always, when you're great, they're going to find every little thing to nick at you, to pull you down. But we'll save that for another day. But I just dawned on me, a lot of these dudes, so many analysts put them as the guys. This is the best guy. Kyrie is this. KD is this. So what happens when they was the guy? When LeBron is the number one guy on the team, they usually are successful. They usually go into the chip. The man ain't lost in the playoffs in 10 years. He's taking you to the NBA Finals. I'm not saying he's going to win them all the time, but damn, you can't say that for Mike. You can't say that for Kobe. You can't to get to the playoffs and go 10 straight years to the chip. 10 damn near straight years if he probably didn't get hurt. We don't know. He probably would have went to the chip with that team. You never know. But every time LeBron's in the playoffs, he only ends up in the freaking finals. Kyrie ain't got that on his resume. KD sure ain't had that on his resume until he went to Golden State. And now he at Brooklyn, who has probably one of the best situations right now. Well, all these Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant. You can't ask for an easier situation if you a quote-unquote superstar. Tell me when LeBron ever had all these superstars probably in the prime of their career, except for a couple on the team.
It was really only when they played for the Heat, because it was D Wade and Bosh, and then they added Ray.
D Wade wasn't in his prime. He was at a later end of his career. He didn't play with the Flash.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think about it. So that was D Wade in 2010. That was D Wade only 6 years in the league. Okay. Yeah. It was only 6 years. He only been in the league 6 years in 2010 because he came in 04. No, him and LeBron came in 03. So that was year 7 that D Wade was there. So year 7 is still pretty young.
They played in 2013.
Who?
The Heatles. It was what? 2000 and what? What was that?
That was 2010 through 13.
Oh, it's 2010 to 13. So he came in 07 or 04, right?
He came in with LeBron in 03.
So 7 years.
So 7 years.
7 years.
So he was 30. He was 30. So I think he came in the league at 22.
So he was 30 years old. Okay. So he got the what, 2 years? 2 good years? Because after about the third year, it was going down the drain. He was hurt, hurt.
Yeah, his knees and everything his body started kind of giving away. So you got to maximize the opportunity that you get.
Facts.
Yeah. And it's just interesting. You feel me? Like, being on the other side of this now as LeBron's on my team, it's like, oh man, everybody got to stack up to be LeBron.
But he's
like, don't nobody want the head up fade no more.
It was supposed to be a 2-on-2, right? Wasn't it supposed to be?
That was supposed to have been. The league was a duo league. It was and I was loving it on some NBA Jam stuff. Like,
right.
Everybody had 2. It was like, because that's what made the league more wide open. Because when you look around, you like, okay, everybody got 2. So what 2 gonna really galvanize the troops around them to elevate the game? And Brooklyn was like, man, we need help. These 2 ain't enough. You feel me? And James, even him, he was like, man, this ain't enough. Because James could have went somewhere else. If Boston wouldn't have been so stubborn, I feel like James to Boston for like a Jaylen Brown, James and Tatum could be serious.
That'd have been nice to see.
Because James don't really need the ball. James needs the ball, but he know how to create for others.
Right.
So when he got the ball, he could have also been creating for Tatum. And that could have sparked a whole nother situation. Because I think Houston probably should have went Jaylen Brown and Kemba with some draft picks for James. And I think that would have solved Boston's issues. But
probably.
That's just me. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm curious to see how this all work out. Another thing, before we move on to this college basketball, the whole situation with Russell Westbrook and what Stephen A. Smith was saying about his numbers and how we don't care about his numbers no more. And how, Russ's wife came to his defense and how Russ kind of said something also. When I look back at the comments, I don't think Stephen A. Smith said anything out of line. I just feel like he's in that thing where he holds Russ to a high regard.
Right.
And when you become that superstar, it don't matter about your numbers no more. You feel me? It only matters about you winning the ship. And, to Russ, he's like, he don't need a ship to define who he is.
That's 100 though.
But 2 things can be true though. You don't need a ship to define you, the man, what you've accomplished and all that kind of stuff. The ship just defines your basketball legacy, not who you are as a person, man, what you've done for the game of basketball. I think the ship, because I'm just saying the ship just adds to your basketball legacy. Like, oh man, like for example, John Stockton. You could say possibly, if you talk to certain people, one of the greatest point guards ever to play the game. But you not gonna put him past Isaiah Thomas. You not gonna put him past Magic. Why? Because he don't have a ship. Like he's lacking that. Karl Malone. When you think about Karl Malone, people say Karl Malone. People don't think about that. He's the second all-time leading scorer ever to play the game. You don't talk about that. But if he had a chip, it would get talked about a lot more. So
that's because of us. That's the narrative that we created, that you're not relevant unless you win a ship. You're good. You're a great player, but if you never won a ship, then you're not considered to be in this top category, this epsilon, this elite category, not understanding that one man would never win a ship.
No,
he just played against better teams. That's just what teams win chips.
It's the air. The thing is
they're not talking about Robert Horry when they talk about ships. He don't get mentioned like that. They didn't say, "Oh, Robert was a great role player." They don't say nothing about it. And he got damn good. You know what I'm saying?
Steve Kerr got ships too, but I just think it's like because Russ is a mega superstar. Like, you know, he's in that, like right now, he's in that echelon of elite athletes. When you become that great, like when you become in that era, that part of your career, that's all they talk about. And it's just one of those situations, kind of like Malone and Ewing and Reggie Miller and all them. It's the era. Russ just so happened to be in the LeBron James, Steph Curry era. And there's nothing he can really do about it because, as you said, those teams were better. Yeah. And because those teams were better, it was going to be hard for him to win a ship. Right. And so it's just one of those things because, like I said, when you look at it, Allen Iverson, cultural icon. But right now, if you was to go top 5 shooting guards, he's maybe 5th. He's going to be after Jordan, Kobe, and D Wade. Why? Because they got a ship. So he's battling James, Ray Allen, but Ray Allen got 2 ships. You know, so like that's where like you move up the legacy board within your thing when you win a ship. And you know, like I said, 2 things can be true. He don't need a ship to define who he is because I'm always loving for as great as he is, but to move up that ladder and to put your name in that different tier, that's when a championship is needed by your legacy.
Yeah, again, man, and we can say that for another day as well, too. Again, this is what we create as narratives to make people like the Charles Barkley's obsolete. Like, you know, Shaq always throw it in Charles' face, like, you ain't got no ring, you ain't got one. But Charles Barkley's by far one of the best that played this game as well. He just played up against a better team at that time. Michael Jordan was one of those dudes. Michael Jordan's team was always favored to win the NBA Finals, 95% of the time. It's just what it was. They was always even if they didn't have the best record, they was always favored. And he never took a game to game 7. And, you know, things just worked out in his favor as far as like shots going in, teams playing the way they did and all that other stuff. But what we try to negate and brush under the rug, it's like we don't care about your numbers unless you win in a chip. What Russell does, and everybody say you can't win with him, that's fine. That's your opinion. It is what it is. Hey, it is what it is. But what he does, he go out there and he plays hard every single day. I will never disrespect that man for getting those triple doubles. People can say he's trying hard. People let him get those triple. They can say whatever. We always got something to say when it comes to a brother trying to do something. It's always something. Well, those rebounds don't matter. He didn't score in a relevant time. Every bucket matters at the end of the day. If you score early, you ain't got to score at no dang crunch time moment. You don't have crunch time moments if you're doing everything you're supposed to do throughout the game 9 times out of 10. But again, we like to categorize things just to rank people who we favored, who we feel as a preference. Look, Bill Russell won more championships. Still don't get that man respect because his era that he played in. They just say, "Oh, well, he didn't play against nobody," but he won 11 chips. Hey, you can't be mad. You can't be mad at that man for his era that he was raised in. He was raised in that era.
Well, he beat Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West, and that's who he kept playing. And you know, Jerry West, the damn logo.
Exactly. So, but it is what it is, man. We'll talk about that another day. But before we get up out of here, man, how do you feel about these championships? We got Stanford, who won it for the NCAA Women's March Madness tournament, and we got the Baylor Bears. How you feel about those two folks winning the chip during their whole little March Madness?
It was interesting, man, to see those things play out. For it to be an all Pac-12 women's championship was big for the West Coast, especially the Pac-12. Shout out to Ari McDonald.
Yeah, she's a gamer.
She's a Fresno kid, 5'9", and she had the whole city on her back, man. On my social medias, everybody was going for the Wildcats, man. They only came up a point short in that championship game. And for Arizona, to knock off UConn the way that they did in a very dominating fashion, if you look at the game.
Yeah, they beat it.
And for Stanford to win the way that they did, and then for those two teams to meet and it to be the game that it lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
So, big congratulations to the Lady Cardinals of Stanford.
Yeah.
And then on the men's side, Baylor just something else. Like, they manhandled Houston.
Yes.
Like, manhandled Houston. Just, they didn't even exist in that game. And that Gonzaga UCLA game was probably one of the greatest basketball games I've seen in a long time. It's right next to the game 7 of the Cavs and Warriors, the national championship game between Villanova and North Carolina.
Yeah, that was great.
It was just a great basketball game. Two teams that were just executing. The stars came to play in Juzang and stuff. Like, it was just, the referees really wasn't involved. They just made the correct calls. Like, it wasn't like it was a horribly ref game.
Right.
Drew Timme, the power forward for Gonzaga, he reminded me of Kevin McHale. He just got the footwork in the post. He can go right or left hand. He's just solid. But unfortunately, Gonzaga ran into Baylor.
They ran into some dogs.
Listen, bro. This Baylor team,
dogs,
is different.
They got 4 players that could take you off the dribble. That was crazy, man. My man, first step, Devon.
Yeah, Davon Mitchell.
Davon Mitchell. His first step is on platinum. It ain't even on Hall of Fame. And it's crazy that the second first step after the first step is quicker than the first step. That I ain't never seen before. When you hit it with a like, it's like he's a definition of the dribble glitch in NBA 2K21 current gen. He's a walking dribble glitch. The man go, and it's not, bro. That game, they made a really, really great Gonzaga team look like a really, really average basketball team. Like, it was bad. I knew it was going to be bad when it was up by like 10, 15 points in the first 3 minutes. I said, what game am I watching right here?
It got out of hand quick. See, because the other thing about Mr. Mitchell is not only is his first step on platinum, he got platinum clamps.
Oh, them clamps, his defense is crazy. They killed him on the rebounds, killed him from the perimeter, 3-point shooting, and they just beat him on all shapes and fashion. And I just really look. And look, this is a hot take, but it's not to be racist, okay? It's not to be racist, all right? I don't want people to take this the wrong way, okay? I'm gonna tell you right now. But I gotta call it spade a spade. I'm gonna tell you right now. Whenever you got some brothers on a team with some white folks, there's no disrespect to y'all white folks. Y'all some gamers, y'all some hoopers, and you playing against a team of some intelligent, athletic brothers. A lot of times, those white folks, they not the same. I ain't never seen Timmy throughout this March Madness tournament. The man was stretching his legs, getting a massage down. It was like his facial expression when he did he ain't do that the whole game. It was like he had the deer eyes the whole game because he's like, these dudes is different. You get what I'm saying? These dudes, he when you feel like a CRISPR, he couldn't even get a shot up. That man couldn't get a shot up. That man is what, 6'6", 6'5", what, 6'6", 6'7"? He's tall as hell. He couldn't get a shot up. I'm telling you, it's like, I'm not saying they were scared. I'm not gonna say they were scared, but it's just like they got hit in the mouth and they was like, yo, this is crazy. We ain't faced nothing like this before. This is different. And it shout out to Baylor, man. Baylor was, Chuck said it best. Nobody was beating that team that day. Nobody was beating that team that day. Everybody thought Gonzaga would win and it'd be a good game, but Gonzaga would prevail. No. Baylor showed why they are the best team. They got about 4 pros on that team and probably even some developing ones. And they did everything they need to do to win the chip. So shout out to him. And shout out to Miss McDonald, who's going to be, I believe, the first female hooper in Fresno to possibly get drafted to the WNBA.
Ooh, big time. Yeah. Hey,
I think she's the first.
Yeah, man. It's to speak on Baylor first. They was just hungry. And I feel like you put some red fresh meat in front of a bunch of pit bulls and they just attacked. And Gonzaga never really remember. See, the thing is, Gonzaga was supposed to have played Baylor in the regular season. Yeah. But I think Gonzaga got hit with some COVID issues with that game had to not happen. And I think they needed that game just so they could have seen the intensity of how they played. Right. And I think Doug Gottlieb said it. It's one of those things that kind of goes underrated about how physical and how tiring the semifinal game was with UCLA.
I said that. I did say that. Yeah.
And I think, going to overtime and that emotional game can take a lot out of you. You feel me? Whether you win or lose.
I said
because it's just a lot. Because you got to refer back to like the Spurs when they lost to LeBron and them in Game 7 and how they was winning that game and they on that emotional roller coaster about to win and then boom, Ray Allen takes their spirit, they lose in overtime, and then Game 7 they just don't look like
the Spurs.
And so you really got to count in and have that kind of like the Heat this past season. Right. When they took in that Game 5 with the Lakers, I was back and forth. And then when it got to Game 6, they was just spent.
Yeah.
You feel me? And so, and then like I said, man, Ari McDonald possibly being going to be the first Fresno native to get drafted in the WNBA, man, is going to be big for the city.
That's huge.
And I look forward to watching her in the women's game.
Yeah.
And,
but it's gonna be interesting. I did say that about Gonzaga. I think they tried to give everything they had, but they was emotionally spent, man. That game, that UCLA game was dang near the national championship. But Baylor deserved every bit of it. And not taking away for what they did. They did what they needed to do. They dominated on all shapes and fashions. And I saw that. And I'm not taking away from Baylor, but I knew to have that game a day before and try to rile up again to play against a team like Baylor, you got to play even more perfect. And you got to tap into another level to push yourself to be undefeated and to beat another talented team that got about 5 people on there, 4 people that can take you off the dribble, and then they strong as hell. It was tough. And no shade to Gonzaga. They did everything they could this year. Almost had an undefeated season, so I do want to shout out to them as well. But we're about to get up out of here. What you want to say before we get up out of here, big dog?
Oh, man, just, football's on the horizon, so look out for our show this week, man. I plan on having a mock draft for the people coming up, for this football draft. So I'm about to be in my bag in this football talk. So tap in with us Thursday, man.
Big facts. But other than that, man, get your shots. Take care of yourself if you want to get your shots. Always stay safe, stay blessed, and remember to talk that talk. We'll see y'all on Thursday. Deuces.